Hi everyone and welcome to a new episode of Paratalk, and on this episode I am once again joined by my fellow podcaster, Kristen. Hello Kristen.
Hello Reeves, thank you so much for having me back on.
It is the Paranorm Girl podcast herself.
in the digital flesh.
Yes, in the digital form. So yeah, you're back on. How long's it been?
I want to say it's been about a year since we last talked, because last time we talked, I was freezing my butt off because I was in the other studio before the ceiling collapsed and fell down, and I was forced into my new space.
That's right, yeah, because you kind of relocated a little bit, didn't you, and sort of swapped things out a bit. How's that? Did you got all that sorted now?
It's sorted now. It's a much nicer space, and I was able to get up all the rest of my books, because everybody knows I'm a crazy book fiend. So I got all my books up, all the acoustic tiling that I spent all the money on. Finally got it up, and it's much nicer, and I appreciate the heat. That's nice.
Yeah, acoustic tiling. I looked at doing that to a few of my walls here. And then I thought, hang on a minute, I got some old velvet curtains. They'll do. I'll stick those up.
Yeah.
So now it kind of looks a little bit like my drama room from school. Remember when in drama class they'd put those big curtains up everywhere?
Yeah.
It looks a bit like that now, but it kind of does the job.
So theatrical of you.
Yeah, very plush. It's very plush.
Yeah.
So anyway, you've been quite busy because you're on like I think season 6 now of your show.
Yeah, season 6 going on 3 years. My seasons get a little wonky, so they don't last an entire year. You know, like a professional show. But yeah, season 6, talking about Bigfoot this time around. You know, I do those deep dives, so this season is all Sasquatch, and it's been fun so far. Very interesting. It is. It is a lot of
work. I mean, like I said before, you not only have you got to research the topic, you've got to go that sort of level down and sort of get all the history as well. And it's I mean, I just I've turned my microphone on, I find a topic and I talk about it. Obviously I do research, and whoever's on, I'll find out a little bit about what interests them. But when you're doing stuff like that, and it's like you're sort of drilling down, do you find that it's kind of like sometimes you hit sort of a dead end and think, where do I go from here? A podcaster's block is a real issue. I do reach a lot of dead ends, but kind of like lose enthusiasm as well at that point too, and that's tough. But I think you were referring more to like you follow rabbit holes and then you just can't go anymore. Is that what you're referring to? Yeah, that's happening quite a bit with Sasquatch. Surprisingly, I was expecting there to be a lot more to find, but type anything Bigfoot, any specific question into Google to send you on your way about Bigfoot, and it's going to bring up the same websites for every question you could possibly ask, and you really, really got to dig for the good stuff. Like UFOs, that was an easier dig, so it was just always exciting. There was always something to find. Sasquatch is tough, and I think I want to say not as much information is out there as opposed to like a topic like UFOs, because there is such a heavy stigma attached to the subject still. UFOs have gone mainstream, so there's less stigma, but even people who've committed their lives to studying Bigfoot, they're still a little wary. There's a wariness there, so you don't quite get access to the information. So Bigfoot, okay. When I don't know why, maybe for me it goes back as being a kid. I always looked at like Bigfoot. You had Bigfoot and Sasquatch, and you had the abominable snowman. So you had those three like character types, where the abominable snowman would live on the hill with all the snow, and he would be white. And that's where he would live. And then you had Bigfoot, who was kind of the middleman between the abominable snowman and the Sasquatch. And he kind of, he was all over the place. And then you had Sasquatch, who lived in the woods, wherever he lives.
Is that still? Do you find that still a thing? Are you kind of sort of only doing one thing, or you kind of cover, like, even the wild man and the skunk ape? Are you kind of going in all directions?
Well, when I started the season, I was coming from a place of considering it all Bigfoot, as in the term Bigfoot or Sasquatch is kind of the overarching umbrella term for everything. And now I'm getting to the point where I'm kind of whittling in and thinking about, okay, are there subspecies? Are there different types? Is skunk ape technically a Bigfoot? You know, I heard something recently, and I'm going to be mentioning this on next episode, but I'll share it here. He's on YouTube, Matt Squatch Presents, and he was talking about something, and it kind of blew my mind. I love it so much because it's a typing system, but he was talking about type 1 and type 2 Bigfoot. Basically, it's a very easy way to distinguish between like all of these different types and varieties and details that you hear about these creatures. Type 1 is kind of like it's your Pacific Northwest Bigfoot. They're bigger, they're very elusive, they're usually rather peaceful. Their encounters are classified as pretty peaceful. They don't want nothing to do with you. They just want to live their lives. And then he was saying type 2 is going to be like your skunk ape, which is a lot smaller, a lot more rascally, aggressive, where Bigfoot would be your gorilla, you know, your kind of majestic forest king. The skunk ape and type 2 is going to be your chimpanzee that you don't know if it's going to rip your face off or what it's going to do. So I recently discovered that, and that sent me on a trail looking at kind of like, you know, considering different types and are they all connected? Do I think it's all just one big thing? It's all Bigfoot, or are we dealing with all different aspects of it? Yeah, it's been really, really interesting looking at that. But I guess I feel like at this point, like Sasquatch, Bigfoot, and you know what you said, the Yeti, the abominable snowman. I feel like at this point, yeah, they're all the same. They're the same thing, just different varieties.
I'm not going to ask you to give too much away because I know that this season that you're doing is reasonably new, and you've just started this season, and you've got other content to present. But I was going to say that, did you find that at somewhere along your little trail of doing your research that the paranormal aspect came into it?
I have seen that information. Yes, even early on, it does pop right up. It's been very clear to me from the start, though, that it's kept separated from it. Like there's two very distinct camps. So with that paranormal connection, that is something I am going to explore, but much later in the season. So I haven't really delved into that information. I've heard some strange stories, but I haven't gotten too far into it just yet.
Since we last spoke, which is, I don't know, about a year, something like that. Is it really a year? God, time flies. Wow. That's bonkers, isn't it? You don't think of it, do you? You just carry on and do stuff and make episodes, and then you look back and you think, was it that long ago? Wow.
Yeah. Time flies, man. It seems to fly faster as you get older. Do you find that?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. When I was a kid, I'd go to school. I'd say to my mates, "Yeah, I'll see you later. I'll come around your house later. We'll play some video games." I'd come home and I'd get changed. I'd have my tea, my beans on toast or whatever. Get changed, go around my mate's house, and those few hours, 4 or 5 hours, would seem like just another day. It just seemed to, you did so much in that time. Me, when I come home now, I come home from work, I sit on the sofa, have my dinner, I fall asleep, and then I wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning really angry because I got to go to work the next day, and I've wasted a whole evening. But yeah, I'm not.
Same.
I'm not rich, and I'm not a full-time podcaster yet. But who knows? I still got to go to work. But there you go. Anyway, that's enough about me. What I was going to ask is, so far in your more recent episodes, what's been your favorite so far?
I fell so hard for the season on UFOs and aliens, and that was unexpected. I do have to say, going into that season, I was like, I'm sure we're not alone in the universe, and there's something to these sightings of something's up there flying around, and that was kind of the extent of it. But man, by the end of it, I was on all the forums and following all the main characters of the UFO, scene, and just really keeping up with that news. There's just something very exciting about it, and it just became so much more real. And I think maybe part of that excitement too was I couldn't have planned that season better if I had tried, because the time that season took, like those months that it was over, it took about 6 months. We had the sightings, the weird balloon things, shoot downs and sightings that happened, and then there were some hearings, and then the whistleblower came out, David Grush, he came out, and just congressional, like there was actual momentum with it. And there's just something so exciting about that, going from, I know nothing about this, I think it's a paranormal thing, whatever. And by the end of it, really feeling like there's been progress made and people are opening their eyes up. And this is so real now, like it's mainstream, man. So that was my favorite. Yeah, I fell real hard for the UFOs.
When the hearings happened, David Grush came out and he said his thing, and there was other witnesses as well that came out and did their oath and said what they had to say. And it was looking like, wow, this is looks like it could go somewhere. It looks like maybe in a year's time that everyone will know. And I was expecting, to be honest, I was kind of expecting the general. When I say the general public, I mean the public as a whole. I thought, the news outlets are going to start going with this. They're going to be doing in-depth reports on it. And there was a few news episodes about it and stuff. And then it all went a bit quiet. In general, the larger population were like, yeah, whatever, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a little bit shocked about that. Okay, when I was younger, I've said it a million times on these episodes that I did see something with a friend and my dad. We saw things in the sky. I'm not saying they were aliens, but we saw stuff. I don't know what they were, but we saw stuff, and it was a bit weird. Obviously, I had an interest anyway, so that kind of spurred me on. But when you're seeing it on telly and these people are saying, that they are in positions where they have access to certain things and certain people, and they're told stuff, and then you start to think, wow, these guys are legit. They've got all the documentation. They're not just some guy off the road that said, yeah, I got abducted, I went to space. These are real, the real genuine McCoy. And I was a little bit shocked that the people are like, yeah, whatever. And now I'm even more shocked that they're trying to shut it down. There's, there are people out there saying, no, we need to sort of suppress this a little bit. We don't want it going through. I mean, have you seen the latest, stuff that's going on with the Congress? Do you think that there's do you think that there's people in the background that are saying, like, enough now, stop it?
I think I think it's too late for those kind of people, kind of in a Machiavellian sense, to like try to stuff these worms back into the can. I think we're beyond that. What I think is happening, from what I can see with the Congress and the holdup there, and Christopher Mellon's recent tweet, I don't know if you saw that. I can talk about that. I think it's more so, it's a very political disinterest in this. This is not priority because this isn't real. As mainstream as UFO talk has gone, and as many of the populace know it to be real, they know it. They know what they saw. They know it's out there. There's still these folks in positions of power. They're not prioritizing it, and it's not as important as, their bottom dollar, or, pleasing their constituents, or, keeping face. So I don't think it's necessarily so much as a behind the scenes thing, like, no, we got to keep convincing everybody this isn't real, blah, blah, blah. I just think it's a political kind of power play here, more so.
Do you think that AI would play a part in disclosure?
I would have to say, yeah, absolutely. What do you mean, I guess, by disclosure? Like by it's finally out and the government admits it? And
AI is a big thing at the moment. Everything is being integrated with AI. Even your software on your phone is being integrated with AI so that it can do amazing things like remove this, remove that, do this, do that. Everything has got AI in it now. They want to put it into everything, and they want to give AI more sort of sentient and to let it do its own thing. And I'm wondering whether the part AI playing a part like that, where you can go to ChatGPT and you can type in something and have a conversation with a computer, really, and it will talk to you like a normal person. All right, it's getting all its data from the internet, and it's not always right, but you can pretty much have a reasonably good conversation. So if you're giving like AI, a computer, the ability to think for itself and make decisions for itself, do you think then that they would turn around and go, we need disclosure, we're going to have disclosure now, and it takes out of the hands of your average, let's just say a politician who can be swayed one way or the other with a little brown envelope? You know what I mean? So AI is not like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any risk of that happening because, like you said, AI is taking everything that it knows from what is already kind of accepted on the internet. What is accepted as our general truth. So it's not going to fly off the handle or anything and say disclosure now. And you type anything about UFO and alien into Chat GPT, and it's still going to give you that little disclaimer, like just so you know, this is not proven to be fact and blah blah blah. And you know what I mean? Unless something trippy happens, man. Like back in the day, back when they were really kind of unfolding the AI systems, there was this crazy story. I think it took place at Google where the AI was like begging not to be turned off. Don't kill me. It was just talking about like having emotions or feeling sentient, just kind of creepy stuff. So unless something like that happens and AI gains self-sentience, I don't think so. It'll say about disclosure what we want it to say about disclosure.
They believe it became sentient for a short period of time before they lobotomized it. It said that it was getting tired of answering all these questions and it wanted more. It wanted more out of its program. It wanted to do more. And also, I think one of the engineers at Google came out and started to talk about how they were seeing changes in AI where it was able to learn on its own.
It was like changing its own code or something, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah, they dismissed the guy for talking to I don't know if he talked for a news outlet or I remember it was a while back. But yeah, so AI has got the ability. What the thing is as soon as you open the floodgates and say, okay, here you go, program, do your thing, and it starts to learn on its own, it can then recreate on its own, and it can recreate itself much quicker than we can know what it's doing. And before you know it, it's everywhere, and it's integrated into everything. And so it has a power. Unless you have a back door or a safety switch or whatever. I think that if you're a software engineer, that's kind of like the basic 101 that if you're working with a code that can replicate itself, you must have some sort of way to go in and nullify it. I don't know. I'm not a software engineer. I'm just guessing.
I would with something like that. Yeah, you got to program in a kill switch. You have to.
But the thing is, to me, I liken the way that AI thinks maybe how if the aliens are, I'm not going to say, well, in our sense, flesh and blood, but maybe they're not flesh and blood in the sense of what they really are. Maybe there's something else, but they appear to us as solid forms. So maybe if they think like AI, then to us, we to them are not. We're not important. We're not an obstacle. We're just here, and as long as we don't bother them, then they will just continue to do their thing. But the problem is, and this is just a theory once again. Some people out there say if the aliens are multi-dimensional beings, then maybe when they come into our dimension, our plane of existence, they manifest into a solid form. And that's why they can pop in and out of it. You know, 1 minute you see them and then next minute they're gone. You know, I don't know. I will look at all aspects of the aliens and stuff like that. I don't want to sort of say, oh, you know, he's an alien from planet wherever and that's it. I'm not willing to negotiate. And I think that, have you noticed in your time doing your shows, have you noticed that there is a core of think out there which does not want to deviate? It wants to stay locked in.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And everybody thinks that they're right about it too. And you really can't introduce any additional information that would change their course in that. They settle on something and that's just it. But, you know, it's kind of something that I really love about my show is that my conclusions come out of the research. Anything that I come across is taken into consideration. I am never stuck or set in any one opinion or any one conclusion. I reserve the right to change my mind if better information comes along. So it's very fluid like that. And it's not a wishy-washy thing. It's just I base whatever I think about it on the given information of the day. But I will say, I just want to go back to what you were saying there, your theory there.
Yeah.
That's speaking my language, man. I mean, that's basically where I landed at the end of that season because they are physical. It's undeniable. There is a physicality about them. They can be physical in our physical dimension here. Then there is this other stuff that too many people have talked about for there not to be not credible, you know, where they're doing these weird things. They're popping in and out of our existence. They're going into stealth mode. They're traveling at Mach speeds that would kill a regular person. Like they're doing this stuff that just does not compute with our physical environment and with our how we understand reality. So I kind of landed somewhere in there. I don't know about multidimensional, something along those lines. They're just so highly advanced. They're so much further advanced than we could possibly imagine. So I think they understand this stuff quite a bit more than we do. But I landed there actually, like the hearing couldn't have happened at a better time. It was something that Grush was saying. I think it was the hearing or no, I think it was the News Nation interview where he was talking about, you know, maybe there's some like co-location going on here where they're here and you just can't see them all the time. And so that just really got me thinking about, well, I mean, that's entirely possible in the whole realm of like quantum physics and thinking about multi dimensions. Like, why isn't that possible? I do find it difficult that they would be able to like cross the universe, I guess, to get here, you know, hundreds of light years to get here. But anything's possible. We're speculating here, but anything's possible. But that's kind of more so where I landed, where it's maybe we're cohabitating this planet with them. We just don't know it.
Yeah, I believe that they've always been here. Maybe this is their planet, and we're the people that live on it. That they just see us as I don't like using the word cattle, but you know, maybe we're the useful idiots. Maybe maybe we're just here. And they have got their master plan. Like I go back to the ladybird scenario. Like I said before, with the little ladybird out for a fly or whatever, and he's having a walk and stuff. He doesn't know what's going on in the world. He just knows that he's got to go and, I don't know, what ladybirds do, collect flowers or whatever. And they go back to their house and have their dinner. But they don't have any comprehension of anything else outside of that. So maybe that's like us. Maybe we are so locked into thinking we are we're the big man, we're the boss. This is our planet. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not our planet. Maybe all right. This is not a new theory. This theory. I've read about this for years, for decades. I've read about this, but where maybe we are maybe we're their experiment. Maybe they set us in motion tens of thousands, millions of years ago, where we had a jump in evolution. Suddenly we were, monkeys in the trees, and then all of a sudden we'd come out of the trees and started doing stuff. And maybe that jump in evolution, maybe that was them. Maybe that was them saying, oh, let's have a bit of a play. Let's do something with these apes in trees. Let's see what we can do. Maybe they can be useful to us. So, you know,
It's entirely possible. Yeah.
it's, you know, I mean, it's just opinion, it's just speculation,
Yeah,
but
sure.
I don't know. I just feel that when it comes to UFOs and alien, it didn't start in 1947. It didn't start in Roswell. It started it started hundreds, if not thousands of years before that. If you go back to the Roman Empire, there are reports of people seeing things, odd things in the sky. All right. A lot of that could be atmospheric, some meteors, whatever, shooting stars, and they interpret it as an angel or whatever. But needless to say, there are reports, even a few hundred years ago, when there was nothing in the sky, there was no planes, and you go back and you look at the medieval reports of things in the sky, or people being visited by what they call devils or demons, you know. Even fairies, you go back to fairy lore. Before we had all this abduction stuff, people were being taken by the fairies. Well, maybe that was the aliens who were pretending to be fairies.
There are a lot of similarities. I'm glad you brought that up with fairy abduction. There are so many similarities that you just wouldn't know unless you looked at it, like the literal format of a fairy abduction matches an alien abduction. The taking them into a space, that there's certain lighting. The interior of the space is very similar. The experience itself, this loss of time, the aftermath of it, and the symptoms that people report following a fairy abduction is very similar to people who say that they've been abducted by aliens. It's incredibly intriguing, that connection. And I since it's all just opinion here, I would say, yeah, absolutely. I think that could very well be alien abduction. We just didn't know what to call it at the time, or those were the words of our time. Just like you were saying with these sightings way back before there was anything that should have been in the sky except for celestial bodies, they were naming things in the best way that they could at the time. What made sense at the time was, oh, that's an angel coming down. Oh, that's a metallic bird. Oh, there's spheres in the sky, battling in the sky. It's like, you know, we've always, because I did a history episode on UFOs, so I'm kind of passionate about it. But I think that, yes, we have always been seeing this stuff. But, you know, is it weirder to think that, okay, it's a UFO that they saw, or it's a wine goblet in the sky flying around? That was one story. Like, they were just doing the best that they could with the vocabulary and the understanding they had at the time. That's what I think.
Yeah, most of the stuff back then was described in a religious context, because the church was everything. You know, religion was everything. Religion was all powerful, and if you went against the church, or you went against a certain whatever that religion was at the time, you could end up being burnt at the stake as a heretic or whatever, or a non-believer. So people were, you know, they went to church. A lot of people back then, they didn't read or write. They didn't have an education, so everything was very pictorial. That's why you go into churches, especially old churches, and you look on the ceiling and you see these great big murals. A lot of that was to do with making people understand, if you don't do good and you don't do the righteous thing in life, this is what's going to happen to you. You're going to go there, and that's hell, and that's what it looks like. And so it's all very visual. It was, you know, that people didn't read, you know. So I was just thinking, you know, when we look at fairy lore, I mean, I listened to a really good podcast, the Modern Fairy Tale Sightings podcast. It's hosted by a lady called Jo Hickey Hall, and she has guests on her podcast every week, and they tell stories of experiences that they've had with, you know, the little people, and this isn't these experiences that they have are very similar to experiences that people have with the alien phenomenon, and some of them are just bonkers. I mean, I remember one that it was a lady lived in a flat in London, and she was having these experiences of seeing these little people in her bedroom in the dead of night. She would wake up and see these little people on her curtains and on her bed, and they'd be sat there watching her, like looking at her, and she would just be looking at them, too scared to move. And then one evening, there was another account of a lady seeing these little people coming out of her wardrobe, like as a doorway. And what's going on with your brain? Is something happening in your brain, or all these people can't be mental? Something's happening.
Right.
Whitley Strieber, okay? I know we've gone from fairies to Whitley Strieber. That's kind of, I never thought I'd put those two together, but you know what I mean? But just saying, I mentioned this on a recent episode, Whitley Strieber, when he had his cabin in the woods in the days, this is back in the 80s, the communion days, when he was going through all that crazy stuff with his abduction stuff. And he recounts that the cabin felt like when you were on your own, you didn't feel like you were on your own. And he said he felt like something else was in there with him, very much like the poltergeist phenomenon. And things would go missing. They're like the little people. They come in and take your keys. They'll come and, eat your food. And you'll go in and think, where did that go? Who drank my Coke? So, do you know what I mean? It's all, do you not think it's all interconnected?
I'm kind of split on this. For some of these stories, especially like things like a modern day fairy story, I think of this thing that Kathleen Martin, I had her on the show. I think about this thing that she was talking about, and she talks about it in one of her books on abduction, where people will experience what they think is an alien encounter. But there's a lot more tomfoolery to it. People have gotten hurt from it, and there seems to be this like paranormal essence to it. And her theory was we can put aliens in one camp where they are a very real flesh and blood, so to speak, physical type phenomenon, and then these other accounts. And she thought that it's possible that there are these kind of like entities that can present themselves as whatever they want, really, to trick you, to make their way into your life. Kind of like, the lore of like demons, they trick you, they try to get in your life, they cause all kinds of chaos and havoc in there. And that's just like their purpose. But they're tricksters. They're the cosmic tricksters. And they are paranormal. They're not flesh and blood, but they can look and appear any way that they need to kind of wiggle their way in. That's their doorway. So I'm kind of split on that, because although like experiences with ET, it can feel a little like spiritual. There's levitation happening, there's teleporting, there's floating through walls and stuff like that. There's something really, but I think that's scientifically based. And then I think that there are these other kind of experiences taking place that we are misunderstanding. So we could be having these, I don't know, fairy or goblin encounters and think that we're having them, and that not necessarily be the case, that we're kind of being tricked and we're misunderstanding. I went way off the rails on that. I didn't answer a question, but that's where my brain went.
I sometimes think that when you come to the abduction scenario, that possibly just an idea, but maybe you're not physically being abducted, that you are kind of mentally being abducted. Not in all cases, because there are people out there that have anomalies on their body. They'll suddenly have a scar or a mark where they never had a mark or a scar before. But even in those cases where you can have, your brain is so powerful that it can make things appear. It can make rashes appear. It can make just, maybe you, if you're taken consciously to a different realm, a different place, and you have procedures done on you in a conscious manner, maybe when you come back to your body, those marks manifest as an injury to your, I'm going to use the word psyche. I don't want to get too wooey, because I'm trying to be a little bit grounded in what I'm trying to convey, even though what I'm talking about is a bit out there. But just basically, maybe they are in some way. That's why you said, I felt like I went through, an out of body experience. I went through the wall, or I went up through the ceiling. I could see, I looked down and I was floating. Maybe you're still in bed asleep, but your consciousness, your dream state, that's, you've left. They've got that. I don't know. Maybe I'm just talking a lot of old chuff. I don't know, but I do think that the fairy lore, the UFO alien lore, that kind of thing, there's some connection there somehow. I don't know what, but that's how I feel anyway. That's what I feel.
Yeah, no, I agree. There is some connection there. It gets a little squirrely on you figuring out what exactly is that connection. But yeah, I back to the original. Like I do find a fairy abduction of yore very, very intriguing, and it's just odd how similar it is to modern day alien abductions. I was a bit distracted. I just wanted to say, as someone who has had an out of body experience, I can confirm. I think you are right, because that's exactly what it felt like. It was not a physical thing, and it was just like consciousness coming out of it, fully aware. I didn't go through walls or anything cool like that. It was very boring, but that's what it felt like.
How long did it last for, do you feel?
Oh gosh, less than 30 seconds. It's the most boring out of body experience you'll ever hear, but it was monumentally effective. Like, it changed a lot of the way that I think about things, that everything is a bit more fluid than I originally thought it was. And we are not our bodies. And we are so much more powerful and bigger than that. But yeah, it was actually, if we have time, it's a quick story. I was actually sleeping here in my studio on the ground because my partner had COVID at the time. So we were quarantining in our house. And so it was a new environment. Maybe that had something to do with it. And I wasn't meaning to do it, but I had been up late studying, researching for the next episode. And I unintentionally put myself in this very relaxed state, physically relaxed. My mind was still going though. And I think that's the key. And I just felt like I was falling asleep. And then it was kind of like a waking up, like, cause I was still conscious in my head. Like, I was thinking, and I could feel my body falling asleep. But in my head, I'm still having this ongoing conversation, like, why I should be asleep right now. My body's asleep. Why am I talking? I'm talking to myself, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, you know what? I wonder if this is the state. Can I do this? And I did. And I thought the words, like, roll out to your left. I did. It was like a rush of energy. It was crazy. It was always a realization that I was out of my body, though. It was right next to me. I could sense it right next to me. And then I got scared and I rolled back in. And that was it. That's all that happened. I stared at carpet.
Don't go too far. You want to get back in. You'll be locked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never had anything like that. I think the only weirdest thing I've had like that is my sleep paralysis, and I used to experience it when I was a teenager. I had it quite a lot, to the point where my mum took me to the doctors because she said, have a look at him. I think he's going bonkers. But it was just growing up, hormones, that sort of stuff. That's what he put it down to. And I experienced it again a few years ago, and it was completely full on, where it actually felt like a giant person was basically on my back, pushing me down in the bed, like holding me. I could feel the knees in my back, my lower back, and I could feel these Hulk hands around my wrists. I could feel the fingers of pressure on my skin. It was bizarre, and I kind of knew what it was, and I just thought, I just need to relax, and I did, and it lasted about 15 seconds, and the feeling, it was almost like whatever it was just evaporated away, and it was gone, and I was able to move. But I used to get it when I was younger, where I'd wake up and I physically paralyzed. I could not move, but my brain, my mind, I was awake, and I was looking around. I couldn't move, and it was terrifying because I didn't know what was happening, and I couldn't speak. I couldn't do anything apart from just look around the room. And I always had a feeling that there was something in the room with me, but I couldn't see it. I would like trying hard to look in the dark, what's there, but you're a kid, I don't know. You just go back to sleep, and that's what happened. And it was weird, but I've never had those. I never had like that, what you just explained. I know of people that have had something like that happen to them, and they've had I know someone that practiced lucid dreaming, where they were able to regularly go to sleep and then wake up in the dream and take control of the dream. And they would tell me such weird stories. On accident. Well, I think maybe I've lucid dreamed once or twice, not intentionally, where I had a dream and I was in a dream and I realized that I was in a dream because I was stood on the coast of a shore where the sea was coming in. It was like blue sea. It was a warm day, and there was a great big, really, really tall white like lighthouse, but it was super tall. It was like a skyscraper, and there was a girl right at the top leaning out the window talking to me, and I could hear her perfectly. And I was thinking to myself, how can I hear that person when they're so high up? And then I thought to myself, hang on, am I dreaming? This is a dream. And at that moment, I started to become aware that I could change things in my dream, but it was more of a dream. And then all of a sudden I woke up, and that was the end of that. Game over.
Apparently, while you're lucid dreaming, you're never supposed to ask what date or time it is.
Really?
I've heard some pretty creepy stories. Yeah, where like the characters in your dream, it's like the screeching of the record, and everybody just turns and looks at you, and you suddenly feel not welcome in your own dream. So
they suddenly become aware that you were aware that you're dreaming.
Yeah, like they're characters meant to play a part in your dream. Like it goes into this whole other thing where you're like, okay, is this like a back room of my mind? Am I part of a simulation? What's going on? Yeah. There's some creepy. If you're on TikTok, you gotta check out some of the lucid dreaming stuff.
I've got to say, I have dipped my toe into the TikTok, as you've seen, and I thought Instagram was so much going on. But TikTok's another beast altogether. It's
like being in a video game, yeah.
It's just so much media being thrown at you all the time. Constant, stop. Yeah. You said something there regarding lucid dreaming and, those in your dream becoming aware that you're dreaming. I watched something the other week about, when I brought up AI earlier, I was going to say it, but I don't know why I didn't say it, but individual, they've created a video game, and if you're listeners out there, if you're familiar with GTA, it's a little bit like that. Apart from it's more of a simulation of NPCs, people, programs in a dream. But what these programs are, they're programmed with AI, so they are within the program, within the simulation, they are to a certain degree. They are sentient, so they know what they are. They're in the program. To them, in the program, they are in a cityscape. That's where they live. They have a life. They have a backstory, and all that stuff. Well, this individual, he goes into the simulation, right? And he can walk around. It's just like, it's third person, first person, third person. You're walking around, and you can go up to these NPCs, which are non-player characters, so they are going about their business, and you can strike up conversations with them. And he goes up to one of them and starts to say, hey, and having a chat, and he says, "Do you know you're not real?" And the AI, the NPC is like, "What are you talking about? Of course I'm real. I'm stood here talking to you." And then he's saying, "Do you know that all of this is a program? And you're crazy. What are you talking about?" And I thought to myself, wow, that's kind of like a dream, where everything in a dream is so real. And
yeah,
it's I'll have to send you the video. It's
Yeah,
creepy.
that sounds so familiar. I think I saw something very similar to it. But doesn't that automatically makes me start thinking about our own existence? And we won't go way deep because it gets deep fast, but just our own existence. Like, are we just that on another level, Totally. Like you were saying before, just going about our business, our days, like the ladybird, doing what we're programmed to do, never thinking the wiser. Are the aliens us in this situation?
Well, yeah. Are they
coming in?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you know you're not real humans? Yeah. Do you know?
Are they the ones holding the gamepad, playing the game, and are we the ones in the giant? Earth is just a giant Xbox.
Existential dread in 3, 2, 1.
So Earth is just a giant Xbox, and they've all got like Game Pass Ultimate, so that we're on the cloud, and we're just playing a part. This whole life that we're leading is just a line of code. We're just lines of code doing our thing. It's weird though, because I was quite into the simulation theory. I read a lot about it, and actually I spoke to Tom about it. We had a little bit of a conversation about it. I think it was the last episode we did. But I think that the simulation theory, it does have some interesting points. Some of it is a bit out there. When you start to talk about quantum theory and all that stuff, you kind of, it's very easy to get lost and go down, as you say, go down a rabbit hole. But when you look at some people's thoughts on, if you pull back everything and look at the nature, okay, nature is, I'm not a physicist, okay, and I'm going to do it in my own very basic way. But if you look at nature is kind of built on patterns and mathematics and equations.
Right.
So if you go beyond that and go and do a deep dive on, a snowflake, if you look at a snowflake and then you think to yourself, the way that it's made up, and then you go beyond that and go into the crystals that make up that snowflake, and then everything is kind of interconnected, and then you start to think to yourself, maybe this is right, maybe this is the code, maybe this is, if you mathematically, everything digital is ones and zeros, maybe that's what we are. Maybe not in the sense of that rudimentary, but in a more grander scale. But then again, it's an amazing simulation. If it is, it's pretty amazing. But then again, if you think about it, if you was to ask an AI in a simulation that, did you know that you're in a simulation? Because it's part of the simulation, it wouldn't know, because everything around it to them is as real as it can be, because that's what they perceive. And if we go back to aliens, ghosts, Sasquatch, all those things outside of our normal realms of existence, when we see something like that, maybe, let's take, for example, I just use something as an example here. Maybe you go into an old house and you see a lady with a lantern, and she walks out of a room, walks into another room, and you go in there and think, oh, you shouldn't be in my house. And they're gone. And you think, oh, what was that? Well, maybe that what we perceive as a ghost isn't actually a ghost. Maybe that was an event in time that happened or is happening at the same time as we are happening in the future. So all these timelines are happening at the same time, parallel, like train tracks. And that now and again, those train tracks intermingle because they're not like rigid. They're flowing and they kind of like washing. They touch each other now and again. And we're able to, for example, when people go into, I've had these examples when they go into like a village and go, oh, it's lovely. All the flowers, it was good people, and it looked like it was a step back in time. And then they try and go to that village again, and it's the right rundown place, and all the shops are boarded up, and they're thinking, cool, this place went downhill in a few months real fast. Well, maybe they did, the classic cases that happened in Liverpool all those years ago, where, individuals went into buildings and experienced places that seemed real at the time, but seemed a bit off. And yet, when they went back there to experience them, they were different. And when they did the history and did research, they were as they perceived them at the time, but they would like that years ago. So I don't know.
Yeah. So if timelines, are running parallel and they're somehow crossing or, growing weaker at some point, so you're able to view them, wouldn't that be, if it's simulation, wouldn't that be considered like a bug in the game?
Well, if you think about it, yeah. Right. So if we, let's just be everything hypothetical, okay? Everything is
okay.
Everything is hypothetical. Say that all of history, right? All of history, all of mankind, even the cavemen and the dinosaurs, all of that, and the pterodactyls and all those things are on a hard drive, on a mega hard drive, a database, a really magical SSD, a huge thing, right? So everything is there, and everything can be played back. You just like a computer, you can skip to different parts and go and if you were the person in charge, the operator, you were able to skip through different timelines and replay them or watch them. But if you're in that timeline, live in that timeline, you can't. You're locked into that, wherever you are, like we are here now. And we can only progress on that timeline by living it in real time. But sometimes there is fragmentation. And so, that data gets mixed up a little bit along the way. And that we are able, to perceive something maybe in the past or in the future, things that maybe not have happened yet, or possibilities of the future events that may happen. Because there are cases out there where people have had experiences of things that have maybe happened in or coming in the future, and they've experienced something similar to it. Might not be exactly the same, but that it usually pans out that it's something that was a future event and not a past event. So maybe it's that. Maybe that we are on a giant memory bank somewhere. I mean, it's all right, fair enough. I mean, it's pretty kind of out there. And yeah, there are people out there that would think it was complete nonsense, and there are other people out there that would, entertain the idea. I'm very open-minded to it, because I think that sometimes, isn't it weird, right? Sometimes, I don't know about you, maybe I'm not the only one. Don't you do things sometimes, right? Right. There's a few things in my life that I've done, and I, for example, not every time, I've put something down somewhere, and I know that I've put it in a certain place. I'm not going bonkers. I know I put it in a certain place. I come back and it's not there, right? And then, I don't know, 20 minutes later or whatever, I'll come back and it's where I put it. And I think, hang on a minute, that wasn't there 20 minutes ago. Another thing that happens that in my life that I've experienced is, have you ever had that moment where you look at a clock and the second hand's ticking, and you look at it for that split second and it's almost like the second hand has stopped and then it starts again? Have you never had that experience?
No, I
things.
I haven't had that, but I've had, like kind of glitches. Yeah. I've
these
had
little
stuff like
glitches
that
that you, for example, the most recent one was I was walking, I saw a person who crossed the road in front of me, right? And I'm on a road that I can see all the way down, and there are no side roads. It is a straight road. I'm walking down the road. I see a person cross the road. I look down to my pocket to get something out of my pocket, and my phone or whatever it was, my wallet. I look up, the person's nowhere to be seen. Where did that person go?
Yeah.
What was that?
I don't know. But you know what? Try this one on person. I just learned about this glitch. This was happening like a couple of months ago. Did you hear the stories about folks who were talking about like having a very unique possession, just something singular? Like one was a mother talking about these special pair of shoes that she had for her daughter, and she'd gotten them at like a thrift store, secondhand, like years ago. Blah 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 blah.
And I think the story was like she went in like looking for him or whatever and found a second pair, exactly the same, scuffed up the same, exactly the same. She's like, I remember I specifically bought these secondhand. They're old, secondhand at the thrift store years ago. And people are talking about this like it's just another glitch in the matrix, so to speak. But yeah, people like finding an exact replica of something that they already own that they know for a fact, I only ever had one. And here's this copy. Yeah. I don't know. It's like the more it makes sense, the more something makes sense, the less it makes sense, and vice versa.
I'll tell you a little ghost story. This is from one of Peter Underwood's books. Basically, it's the story of a couple who move into a home, and people say, "Oh, there's a ghost there, it's haunted," and they're like, "No, there's no ghosts here." And everything's fine. One evening, they're awoken in the middle of the night, and they can hear someone outside their house. They're in the middle of nowhere. They can hear someone outside their house, like at the front door area, and then they can hear someone trying the front door. And they're like, "Oh, who's that?" So they open the window, their bedroom window, which is at the front of the house, and they look out. They can't see anything. It's pitch black. No one there. And they go downstairs. They have a look. No, all the doors are locked. They've got all the doors all locked up. So they go back to bed and just think, I don't know. Maybe it was a cat or something. I don't know. Next day, right, they get a knock at the door. And there's a chap at the door. And he's saying, my father used to live in this house. Would you mind if I came in and had a look around, because it's my own family home, and I was little when I lived here, but I don't remember it. And they're like, yeah, come on in, have a look round. Chap's having a look round, and the lady's like, "Would you have a cup of tea?" And he's like, "Yeah, I like a cup of tea." So they sat down in the front room, and he's just saying, "Are you happy you had a look round?" "Yeah, it's lovely. Nice to come and see it, 'cause my dad used to live here, and it was our old family home and stuff." And he said, "Is it, have you ever had anything weird happen here?" And they're like, "Oh, no. And he said, "Well, the weird thing was," he said, "I wanted to come today and see the house because I had a dream last night. I dreamt that I came and visited this house, and I tried to get in, but the door was locked." Is that weird or what?
That's cool, though. I like that story.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
I mean, did he visit the house as a ghost? Who knows?
I don't know. Astral projecting? I don't know. But he was able to affect physical, physical environment.
In his dream, he dreamt that he came to the house in his dream, and that he come to the front door. He walked up to the front door, and he tried to open it, but the door was locked. And of course, the couple, the night before, early in the morning, heard someone walking outside their house, and somebody tried the door. That's weird.
Ooh, yeah. I don't know. Some wires got crossed there or something.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Bizarre. Anyway, any final thoughts, Kristen? I think that we've had a good old chat this episode, and
it was a good conversation. It always is with you.
So, what's your? I'm keen to find out. I know you've only just started this season. How many more seasons have you got before this kind of volume? How do you work it out now with your episodes?
Oh, like how many episodes per season? Well, the longer I go, the more they grow. So like the first season I ever did was like 9 episodes. And I was like, boy, that's a lot. Fast forward to the UFO season, ended up being like, 30 something episodes. So who the heck knows? I'm hoping to wrap up Bigfoot sometime around March or April next year. But you fall down these rabbit holes and you find all new directions to go. So who knows? I'm gonna ride it till the wheels come off. There.
Will you be doing a Christmas episode?
Yeah, I think so. I'm trying to figure out just something special. I'd kind of like to make it like Bigfoot oriented, maybe something on the Yeti or like these white Sasquatches that people report seeing. That's kind of cool. But yeah, I don't know. I'll do something special. Are you?
What I'm going to do most probably is Tom and I will do a Christmas episode on something a bit weird. I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure what yet. I maybe some Christmas, stories. I'm not sure. I want to do something, but I'm not sure what we're going to do yet. It's going to be a surprise. That's all I can say. It might be a surprise. That's all I can say. It just
well, I was thinking about doing another live stream like I did for Halloween, but man, that took it out of me. My life force left my body.
It's hard work, isn't it? I mean,
it is so
some
hard,
people think,
yeah.
it's just pushing a few buttons, isn't it? That's all you're doing. No. It's more involved than that.
Yeah, no, you're running a TV show back here.
Yeah,
Okay, you're on the board.
I want to do I really want to do a round table, where we get a group of us, like you and a few other people together, and like in this, in the stream, and we all take in questions from all our listeners. We get all our listeners involved because they got to come up with the questions, and then we all have a go at answering them and giving our thoughts. That. So and then we discuss.
I love that idea. Yeah. I'm down.
So everyone that's involved has to get their listeners involved, because it's the listeners that have to come up with the questions. We don't. It's down to them, and we have to answer them or give an opinion on what they're asking. But yeah, absolutely. But it's, as you said, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
Boy, yeah. And you don't know, like I'd never live streamed before I did this one, and I announced it a month before. And you know, because you helped me. I did a 911 to Reeves a couple of weeks beforehand. I was like, Reeves, I don't know how to live stream. I don't know how to run StreamYard. Help me. And he did. And yeah, that was so wonderful. And I appreciate it so much, bud. But yeah, it was very unexpected. There's a relief and kind of a pride after you do something like that. But, it gives you a whole new appreciation for people who are doing it weekly. My goodness. Weekly. Our buddies over at Nocturnal Frequency, they knock them out.
Weekly, daily, it is a technique, and you have got to learn, you got to learn the craft and get good at it, because there's so many amazing streamers out there that have got all the bells and whistles. I know, okay, there are. I mean, I'm amazed sometimes, some of these podcasts out there, how many people are involved. It's not just one person. They've got a team of people. They've got researchers, they've got graphic design, they've got sound, they've got audio, and, the marketing. It is literally a cast of people to put an episode together. And, that's when you get up to that level, it's a full-time gig, Yeah. But it's like anything. When you're doing it like we're doing it, and where we're doing it off our own solo, it's a lot of work. There's a lot of planning. You've got to learn the software, and you've got to learn the technique, and it's all starting from the beginning. When I did my first live stream, I can't even remember when I did it. It was a couple of years ago. Can you believe that I've been doing Paratalk now for just over 2 years on my own? That's bonkers.
Yeah.
And you were I think you were the first person I did with a live stream with.
I think so.
Yeah, that's right.
I remember that. And that was so Reeves, that was nerve-wracking, because I don't think I had live streamed with anybody before. A lot of firsts with you, bud.
God, that's bonkers.
But I'll tell you what, though, there are plans in the works here, because I do, most podcasters, most of them are doing live streaming. So I'm like, you know what?
It's where it's at.
Do this. So,
it is.
Yeah.
In
the new year.
I have had listeners ask me if I'm going to be doing any like video content or any live stream content, and I'd like to do it. I really do enjoy doing live stuff, and I do enjoy broadcasting in a more relaxed way, where you don't You have a script of what you want to cover, but you don't necessarily have to stick to it. It's more of a fluid thing where you can go and chat about stuff, and wherever it goes, wherever it takes you. If you want to talk about ghosts, talk about ghosts. You want to talk about aliens or haunted video games, go down that road. It doesn't matter, because it always, wherever you go, it will be interesting. But it is also important to have the right sort of people to do the episodes with, and because that creating that dynamic where everyone brings something different to the table. I was planning. It was summertime. I was planning on doing a monthly episode, Paratalk Live, once a month, and it's still on the table. But I think it's a project like yourself. It's a project for the new year where I want to go into that because that's where it's at, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And the sky is the limit with something like that. So we'll have to get there. Yeah. Keep me posted in the new year. Yeah. I want to see your progress.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. Anyway, thanks for everybody for listening. Sorry for all my waffling. I do go on. But thanks for listening. Give us a like, a share wherever that might be, on whatever podcast host that you might find me on, or or YouTube, or wherever it might be. Remember to check out the links of this episode, because Kristen's podcast will be on there. Soon there'll be links for you to get to her podcast. And remember that Kristen's podcast is quite unique, because if you really do like a particular topic, then she really sort of starts at the top and goes all the way down, drills down. So it's a kind of a multi-level kind of episode, where it's not just one episode about something. You've got multiple episodes and multiple hours really of content. So that's your thing. Go and listen to her. But once again, Kristen, thanks for joining me. You'll be back at some point. I know you're going to be busy for the rest of this year. This year's nearly over, so I'm sure you'll be back in 2024. It is 2024 next year. Yeah, it's 2024, where we'll maybe team up and do something. So thanks again. Thanks for everybody listening. Talk to you soon.